Anybody else got a birthday today? We got some more Abhishek here. No other birthdays? Okay. It's supposed to fit there. No, it's not there. It's over here. It disappeared. Oh, there it is. Okay. Strange phone. It doesn't like me. he wants to get promoted to 5G and I won't let him. So we'll do Mangal Charanam. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksu Militam Yena Tasvai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Staptitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shiguro Shiyuta Padekamalam Shigurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhisya Kripa Sindhu Pevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavane Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadhi Pastyatya Desatarine. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 14, verses 27, 28, and 29. 29's on the board? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ataha Nirpatim Rajan Bhavatai Kastavatmajaha Harsha Soka Pradastubhyam Iti Brahma Suto Yayo Ataha Nirpatim Rajan Bhavitaikastava Machaha Harsha Soka Pradastubhyam Iti Brahma Suto Yayo Ataha Nirpatim Rajan Bhavitaikastavatmajaha Harsha Shoka Pradastubhyam Iti Brahma Suto Yayo. Ladies? Okay, so this is I'll read verse 27 first. In response to the request of Maharaj Chitraketu, so Maharaj Chitraketu in the previous verses, he's asking, please save my forefathers who are descending in the darkness regions of hell. I have no progeny, kindly do something that I may have a son who can deliver us from the hellish conditions. So he's a king without any heir to the throne. He has many wives, but none of the wives can produce a child. He's asking the sage for blessings for a son. So this is the next verse. In response to the request of Maharaj Chitraketu, Angira Rishi, who was born of Lord Brahma's mind, was very merciful towards him. Because the sage was a greatly powerful personality, he had performed a sacrifice by offering oblations of sweet rice to Twasta. O Parikshit Maharaj, best of the Bharatas, the remnants of the food offered in the yajna were given by the great sage Angira to the first and most perfect among Chitraketu's millions of queens, whose name was Krita Duti. So this is verse number 29. Ata, thereafter, Aha, said, Nirpatim, unto the king, Rajan, O King Chitraketu, Bhavata, there will be, Eka, one, Tava, your, Atmaja, son, Harsha Shoka, jubilation and lamentation, Prada, who will give, Tubhyam, unto you, Iti, thus, Brahmasutaha, Angira, the son of Lord Brahma, Yayo, left. Translation. Thereafter, the great soul told the king, O great king, now you will have a son who will be a cause of both jubilation and lamentation. The sage then left without waiting for Chitraketu's response. Purport. The word harsha means jubilation and shoka means lamentation. The king was overwhelmed with joy when he understood that he would have a son. Because of his great jubilation, he could not actually understand the statement of the sage Angira. He accepted it to mean that there would certainly be jubilation because of the birth of a future son, but that he would be the king's only son, and being very proud of his wealth and empire, would not be very obedient to his father. Thus the king was satisfied, thinking, "Let there be a son, it does not matter if he's not very obedient." In Bengal, there's a proverb that instead of having no material uncle, it is better to have a material uncle who is blind. Hare Krishna. The king accepted this philosophy, thinking that a disobedient son would be better than no son at all. Here's the point. He's not hearing from completely, but he's thinking, oh, okay, so I have a son. That's all I really want. And if he's a little naughty, that's fine, as long as I have a son. And then it goes on. The great sage Chanakya Pandit says, Korta putrena jatena yona vidvam nabha brahmikaha kanena chakshusha kimva chakshu pindaiva kevalam. What is the use of a son who is neither a learned scholar nor a devotee? Haribo. Such a son is like a blind diseased eye, which always causes suffering. Nevertheless, the material world is so polluted that one wants to have a son even though he is useless. It's called love. Right? The attitude was represented in the history of King Chitraketu. Om Gyantam Mirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, as we mentioned, Hare Krishna, as we mentioned, the blessing was given, but it was a combination. He said, your son will be the cause of both harsha, jubilation, and soka, lamentation. The king and Angira didn't wait around for the king's response. He left immediately, because he didn't want him to know what would be happening in the future. He was happy just to give the king some happiness for the time being. And then he left, letting the history tell everything. But this king, because his desire was so strong that he didn't care about the results of what the son would be like, as long as I can have a son, like that. But then Prabhupada speaks at the end of the purport. He says, what is the use of a son who is neither a learned scholar nor a devotee? He can only be trouble, that's all. Either way. But sometimes we see, because of family affection, family connection, it doesn't matter what the son or the daughter is like, he's my son. He's my daughter. Even if he's not as smart as the other kids. Even if he's not so inclined to spiritual life, he's still, we love him. That's the material world, yeah. But it meant that the son is the extension of the father, and of course, the mother gives the body, the father gives the life. And so, the son is meant to be a credit to the family, to be able to do something to push on the family tradition, at least being a scholar, someone who is learned, or, even better, a devotee. Even if he's not so learned, if he's a devotee, he's the best of all sons or daughters. So, as it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Guru na sasyat, Jane na sasyat, Pati na sasyat. One more. Pitan na sasyat, Jane na Namochaye sarva petru mityam. That don't become a father, don't become a mother, don't become a guru, don't become a teacher, if you're not qualified to deliver your sons, students, children from the cycle of birth and death. That's a very strong statement given by Rishabhdev. Rishabhdev is the Supreme Personality of God. He speaks this very directly. The great responsibility to take on family life. Sometimes people just produce children like dogs produce puppies. And run around. And sometimes, if you're on a farm, you need some workers. So you have about a dozen kids so they can all do the work, right? But that's not the idea for family life. Family life means to, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati would say, if I could have 100 sons, and one of them would be a devotee, it would be worth it. In other words, to produce a devotee, or to bring into the world, and then educate and inspire one to take up devotional service, is a great service, not only to the Supreme Lord, to that soul, but also to humanity in general, because that person can do good for everyone. That's why it says in the Bhagavatam, only a devotee is the well-wisher of everyone, because they have everybody's best interest at heart. What is that best interest? That they're trying to help that others understand what is the real, how to find real happiness in life, how to achieve the real goal of life, which is Prema Pumarta Mahan, going back home, back to Godhead. So Chitraketu, he's excited. I don't want to tell the future because it'll ruin the whole pastime. But you can read it. It's interesting to know that this shoka, turns into something that is so unbearably miserable that he's on the verge of death. You'll read about that. And why? Because he prayed and he begged and he worshipped the sages. But the sages, Narada Muni, Angira Muni, both came. Angira gave the blessings. They knew that his karma was not to have a son. They knew he wasn't destined to have a son. Destiny works despite our desire. Sometimes we can change destiny by our desire, but we cannot change the resultant karma. That means we can bring about situations in our life, but we cannot change the happiness and distress that those situations bring. It's like people mistakenly think, well, I'm suffering in a very hot climate, maybe I should live in a cold climate, and then I can mitigate my suffering, and vice versa. We see people living in cold climates, they're always looking for warmer climates. When they're thinking that, then my suffering will be less. But then you fall off your bike and break a leg. In other words, you get your karma some way. So that destiny is there. But if one takes up devotional service, then one can automatically, simply by the power of one's devotion to the Lord, change the course of one's life. Prabhupada explains one very interesting point. The Manu Samhita mentions that if one is a murderer, and maybe in a previous life, or even in this life, but has not paid for their crime, if they come to devotional service, because it says in the Manu Samhita, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, that's also in the Bible, that if you kill, you must be killed. That is the law of nature, that is the law of God. And so, but that person comes to Krishna conscious, then that karma no longer has any more effect. But it has some effect. And Prabhupada used a very interesting statement. He said, you were a murderer, you meant to give up your life in response to your crime, but you cut your finger. So a little token reaction for the crime, but nothing very serious. That is the power of devotional service. That one who takes the devotional service seriously can destroy not only past karma, but past karma from all births. Even from the beginning, one came into the material world. Devotional service is so powerful. King Chitraketu is overwhelmed by his power and his position. He's a little proud. And he's got unrivaled kingdom. He's got obedient ministers. He's got a treasury that is filled with all wealth. He's got prestige. He's got control. And he has 10 million wives. Haribo. There's not even that many days in one's lifetime with this people. I guess he was marrying about 100 every day. It's like in the Ramayana. Sometimes it's good to have more wives because you get more protection. Just like in the Ramayana, King Dasarat had 350 wives. We hear about the three main wives, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumitra. But he had 350 wives. That's mentioned also. And why did he have so many wives? Because of Parasaram. Parasaram did not like Kshatriya kings. And he was roaming the countryside and destroying kings. But he had one condition. If the king was getting married, he wouldn't kill him. So those of you who want to get saved from Parasaram, so the example is given in that sense that, so he took on so many wives. So here we have 10 million wives. And, but can you imagine? Bhagavatam is not fiction. It's not hyperbole or exaggeration. It tells things factually. But a lot of the things that it tells, or incidents it tells, doesn't necessarily happen on this planet. They may happen in higher planets or even lower planets. Well, Bhagavatam is saying he had 10 million wives. What is the karma of a person who has 10 million wives and not one can produce a child? Can't figure out that karma. But we can understand what is that karma. He wasn't destined to enjoy material life. He had another destiny ahead of him, and that will be revealed later. And he was not meant to be a successful, powerful king with so many queens. He was meant to take up spiritual life. Obviously, in his previous life, because to be born and to have the position of a king, obviously, is what we say good karma. What is that verse in the Bhagavad Gita? Suchinam sambatam gehe yoga brasta pradayate. That if you're engaged in devotional service and you don't finish in this life, you fall short of perfection. In your next life, you get birth in a good family, a Brahmin family, or a family that is a mercantile family that has good wealth. Now that is the position of a person who doesn't finish. They get a good birth. And then that's meant to relieve them of all the responsibilities they have in order to find success in this world. That way they can focus on the real goal of life, Krishna consciousness or God consciousness. But sometimes we see, and many times, especially in Kali Yuga, people who are born in such affluent families with great wealth and great power and great facilities, they become degraded. They use their wealth, they use their position to enjoy sense gratification in the material world. And then gradually they go down. There was one particular, this happened in India many, many years ago. One very powerful family here. They had a son, and the son was, the family was multi-millionaires. And the boy grew up with all opulences, good family care was there, everything was there. But when he became a teenager, late teenager, committed suicide. It was such a shock for the family that they were besides themselves in disbelief at the same time, and of course anguish because of their son committing suicide. So they went around the world, this family, a very powerful family, they went around meeting different sages and saints, wanted to know why the boy did it. He had everything. Everything that anybody could possibly desire for a happy material life. Everything was there. And the family was also a little pious. Because you could see, when the boy left, they went to the sages to find out the answers. So they went, and finally they came to HareKrishna. That was the last one. And they talked to one of our leading sannyasis, and he said, and he explained that the happiness is not external. Happiness, you can decorate the bird cage with so many flowers, make it glitter, put some jewels on it. But if you don't feed the bird, then the cage is pretty much just a decoration that has no value. So in the same way, without feeding the soul, the nourishment that the soul is hankering for, giving it so much of the material simply will not satisfy that living being, no matter how much they have, no matter how much power, how much wealth. There's one family in the world today, they're so rich, so powerful, that the leader of the family is worth $5 trillion. Not billion, trillion. But if you see them, they look miserable. You can tell they're miserable. Their only idea is to conquer the world by trying to control everything in the entire world. But they're miserable, and they have satanic rituals in order to find, when they have parties, they do satanic rituals. They worship Satan. Because Satan will give you everything you want if you worship him nicely. Don't try it, because you go to hell afterwards. But yeah, so people want all this power, wealth, position, fame, followers, everything, whatever they can get, all of the amenities that come by way of that. But it's all external. You can see. And this example of the King Chitraketu is very, very instructive. He had everything except one thing which was lacking in his life, a son. Therefore, he wasn't happy. And because he wasn't happy, he was willing to do anything simply to fulfill that desire for progeny. But it wasn't his destiny. So you might ask, what is my destiny in life? We all have material destinies. It's different. We're born karmana daivana trena. We're born in different families. We have different, everyone's different. Nobody's the same. There's no two people in the world who are exactly. That means there's always a slight amount of difference in karma. So everyone has their destiny on the material level. How much there's. Therefore, the verse, yatetu, what is that verse? tasyaiva hetu bhavite na kovito, na labdyate ta brahmatam uparyada, na labdyate dukkana anya sukham kalena sarvatra gabira ramhasa. This is a powerful verse spoken by Lord Brahma himself. And he's saying that those who are intelligent and philosophically inclined do not try for any situation in the material world, even from the highest planet of Lord Brahma, which he is, to the lowest planet, Patalaloka. And then the second part of the verse is very instructive also, where it says that just like misery comes without anyone trying, no one goes out and says, today I'm going to have a miserable day. And I'm going to plan for it. I'm going to make sure it's the best of all miseries today. I was giving a lecture one time with a bunch of crazy drunken hippies. So I was speaking like this, and there was a big crowd, and there was a whole group of drunken hippies there. So I said, yeah, nobody actually plans to be miserable. Does anyone plan to be miserable? I asked the crowd. They said, yeah, we want to be miserable. Yeah. So I had to throw out that whole philosophy, because there is a certain class of men. So, but generally that's not the case. And so it says that misery comes without trying for it. Therefore, material good fortune will also come without trying for it. And people in the material world are always trying to adjust the material energy to push back the suffering and increase their so-called happiness. That's the whole process of material life, right? That's what business is about, to strategize so much in business, how to make more money, how to get a better position, how to have more, influence over others. But you can do all that, but you can't change your happiness and distress. The only way you can do that is come to Krishna consciousness. That's the only way. Your material destiny is there. It's there. So therefore, anyone who's intelligent will take to Krishna consciousness. And by taking to Krishna consciousness, you find that happiness you're looking for, but in the real way, not in the way that is coming by way of material decorations, because that's what material life is. It's just a decoration. If you want to dress up a dead person, you can put so many decorations on them. It's like people go to they don't have too many funeral parlors. They have funeral parlors here in India. When somebody dies, they take the body and they embalm it, and then they just put it on display, and people come to look at it. And that's in the West. That's very big. And it's a big, big business that when someone dies, and they give it to this group called the funeral parlor. Then they fix up the body real nice to make it look like it's almost alive again. Put a nice coat or a dress on it, some flowers, and they lay it in the casket, and the relatives come. And they say, oh, my relative never looked so good, he looks very peaceful. So I don't know if they have funeral parlors here. Here you just bury the body or you burn it, right? And that's common sense. In the West, there's no common sense. And sometimes even keep the body around for a while because they can't accept the facts that it's not there anymore. They make it part of the house. Keep the guy in the corner. He's not doing anything, but So this is the futility of material life. So this decoration on the dead body is what material life is. The real soul, the individual, cannot be given any kind of life simply by material success. Material success can stabilize one's, well, you might say, eating, sleeping, and mating and defending propensity, or the need for fulfilling that. But how much do we need for that? There's very little in that area. That comes automatically by the arrangement of God. Prabhupada used to say, why do people working hard, so hard for their food, when the elephant, he eats 40 kgs a day, and he doesn't do any work. Well, sometimes he does something, but he's not looking for food. It comes automatically. So the ants in the room, Prabhupada would say, the ants in the room, they always get their food. Prabhupada would say, you take a piece of sugar and you put it on top of the highest building, the ant will find it, He's got that, can pick up the sugar, right? It's like attractive. So God has provided for everyone. Just like in the birds, as soon as the mother bird gives birth, the father bird goes out looking for food immediately to feed the children. So God has arranged everyone's food and shelter nicely. And there's no need for that. And there's always male and female in every species of life, so that's there. So these things are natural. They come by a way of God. But people work so hard just to improve their eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, which is simply animal life. So the real success is to take fully to Krishna consciousness. And then everything will be provided by the Lord, and one will achieve the perfection of life. So this whole purport is leading up, this whole pastime is leading up to Chitraketu waking up to the futility of his material success. And now that material success, it's just like if you were never rich, say you were never rich, you don't miss money so much. You may feel a little lack, but if you were rich one time and then you lost your money, then you feel the pain. Then that pain of loss. So he'll get a son, and then the son will no longer be there. So his suffering is even 10 times more than it was before he didn't even have a son. So and that's the way of material life, because whatever you get, you lose in time. That's just the way material life is. But in spiritual life, there's no loss, and everything is only getting better. Even on a material level, too. Prabhupada used to say, I had family, wife, children. I gave it all up. I took sannyas on the instructions of my spiritual master. And now I have 300 children and no botheration with wife. That's what he said anyway. But he's saying, I have so many children now, I have a big family. So in other words, spiritual life, the devotees become our family. That's the real family. That's the family we will be with all the way till the end, and then ultimately maybe even in the spiritual world. If we can make our material family Krishna conscious, then that's our success also. Then they become our real family members. Okay, so we'll stop here. Yes, question? We have a microphone?
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, thank you for such a nice class. When we're in association of devotees, as you said, devotees family.
Put the mic down a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
As you were saying that, it's such a nice family, and but while dealing with Vaishnavas, one thing that, we should appreciate, there are devotees who are doing good, better than us, when it's come to services. And then eventually, they are recognized by other devotees. It's kind of, so that time what happens that we become little envious. We don't, we keep distance from them.
We become envious because someone is getting some special privilege.
Correct. Yes. So it, how to, give up that mentality and
Well, Prabhupada talks about in the spiritual realm, if someone is successful, well, everyone becomes happy. That is Vaishnava. Vaishnava feels joy, happiness, when someone gets the mercy of the Lord, gets some credit for whatever reason. So he said, just like in the spiritual world, the gopis are there. The gopis are all competing to get the favor of Krishna, and if one of them gets more favor, just like Srimati Radharani, all the other gopis are happy because Krishna is enjoying with Radharani. So in the spiritual consciousness, the spiritual mentality, that another person's success is my happiness, and another person's defeat or unhappiness is my unhappiness too. That is Vaishnava. This enviousness is a material, and it's actually very, what we say, debilitating for spiritual life. For example, Srila Prabhupada would say, the difference between material and spiritual is non-envious and material is envious. He made a direct statement. What I just said was a direct statement. He said that's the difference between, he says, those who are non-envious, they're in the spiritual realm. Those who are envious, they're still in the material world. So, how do you overcome this envy? Just be satisfied with whatever Krishna gives you. He's giving you so much. He's giving you the association, he's giving you a chance to serve, he's giving you a chance to experience the happiness of worshipping him and chanting the holy name. So much things that were being given to us. We should be grateful for that and not feel unhappy because another person is getting something more than me. That's Krishna's arrangement. And one great sadhu in our movement said, if you are unhappy because someone else is more successful, that means your problem is not with that person, but with Krishna. Because Krishna made that person have what he has. Krishna is the cause of all causes. So that's a very powerful statement. That when we feel unhappy or we feel, well, why don't I get it? Instead of why did they get it? I'm also, I'm even more qualified than they are. We might think like that. But that's because because Krishna didn't want to give it to us for whatever reason. Just be satisfied. If we can learn to be satisfied, then we're always happy. Whatever comes by way of Krishna's mercy, fine. If he gives me, just like people invite me for lunch, I get all excited and then the lunch is terrible, so what to do? That wasn't yesterday. Yesterday lunch was nice. Sometimes, I remember I was in America. This is really funny. So I was preaching in one city, it was Cleveland, Ohio. And so one girl, she invited me for lunch. Her husband was there too. So I thought, all right, lunchtime. So she brought a bowl of soup and a slice of bread. And I thought, well, that's just the beginning. I was waiting for the rest. And she said, that's it, Maharaj, that's all. I said, that's all? Yeah, that's lunch. So that's the last time I went there. If I wanted to fast, I could go there. But so, I was all fired up about lunch, but the fire was gone after I got there. So, we expect things, and things don't happen. We just be, all right, it's Krishna's arrangement. What can you do? Yeah, so it's always like that. So when it comes to other people, we should be other devotees. We should celebrate their successes rather than feeling unhappy because of that or envious. That's Krishna conscious. We're all on the same team. We're all trying to become Krishna conscious, and we're all trying to work together to spread Krishna conscious. So if someone is doing that, a devotee should feel like that. But Prabhupada says the gopis always compete with each other to see who's the best. But in the competition, there's no envy. It's just a competition to try to be better than the other one, simply for the pleasure of Krishna. The goal is to please Krishna, therefore let me try even harder and do better service than that other person. But that's not envy, that service is just because it's directed towards the pleasure of Krishna. And not so, I just want to be better than the other person, I want to be giving more praise, more, more remuneration, whatever. So this envy is the reason why we fall into the material world. Prabhupada says that. We're envious of Krishna, and then we come here and we play the same game with each other. So just be satisfied. And if you feel envy towards another person, then do some service for them. Offer some service, offer some prasadam, do something favorable for that person, and you'll see that feeling of enviness will go away. Does that help? Yeah. We're just wasting our mental energy like that. We could be making nice progress instead of feeling bad about somebody else's success. Any other questions? Mm-hmm. In the back there? All the way by the... Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I was curious to understand how Prabhupada balanced compassion and practicality when it came to dealing with some of his disciples who were like Harsasok kind of. So, I remember reading in Leelamrit how he dealt with Purushottam, who was like in that moon landing case. How he dealt, he didn't reject him. He was compassionate. It was Purushottam who wanted to go, Prabhu who wanted to go out. So that kind. So why I'm asking is sometimes a disciple who is like a Harsasok, Harsa is that, happiness is that, okay, family of Vaishnavas is increasing, But the Sok is that lot of energy goes in dealing with such people. So how Prabhupada balanced that? I gave one example where he was completely compassionate. So I wanted to know more insights in how Prabhupada did that.
Well, Prabhupada would see what could be done to help. So sometimes chastisement would be the best, and sometimes encouragement, positive encouragement. It depends on the person. In the case of, it was Purushottam? What was it? Yeah. Yeah, Purushottam Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhupada turned it into a joke. He did. And somehow, I think he left because of that. Because he didn't believe Prabhupada. So many devotees left because what Prabhupada said, they didn't accept it because they were so much affected by what they had learned in their material life. Like Prabhupada said, we never went to the moon. And that was the Purushottam thing. And then, the situation came. But he still didn't believe, Prabhupada, that didn't go to the moon. Of course, later it was out, so many books came out and proved that we never went to the moon. So, and the biggest thing was the fifth canto, the structure of the universe. When Prabhupada did that, devotees actually left the movement because they couldn't accept they still inclined to the scientific idea of the cosmological arrangement. I know one devotee, he's still in Krishna consciousness, and he's writing books that are contrary to Prabhupada's statements about the moon, about the fifth canto, the whole structure. He's taking Prabhupada's statements and giving different meanings to Prabhupada's statements, which is offensive, which is definitely offensive. Because the spiritual master is Trikala Gyan, a pure devotee, not just a spiritual master, but a pure devotee is Trikala Gyan, can understand past, present, and future. So Prabhupada's dealing was according to circumstance. Just like, for instance, Prabhupada was giving a lecture, I think it was in Australia, Melbourne, or one of those cities there. And Prabhupada was talking about Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one boy got up and started to say, well, actually, I'm God. And Prabhupada said, well, thank you very much, Mr. God. Please accept my obeisances. Now sit down. And another time, when another boy did the same thing, Prabhupada said, you're not God, you're dog. So he reacted differently. One time Prabhupada was also giving a lecture and he was talking about first-class men, the Brahmins. He was talking about the Varnashram system. And then one boy said, and he criticized Prabhupada. He said, you think you're first class. And Prabhupada started to cry when that boy said that. Prabhupada said, I am not first class, I am fifth class, but I'm trying to serve the first class. So you see, in that way, he didn't really respond to the boy's in a very direct or argumentative way. Prabhupada just took the humble position. But his taking the humble position was natural. It wasn't like he was trying to. The boy was challenging, saying, you think you're first class. Prabhupada said, no, I'm fifth class, but I'm trying to serve those who are first class. So Prabhupada was a little emotional about that. So he responded differently in different situations. You see that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that I think it was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave 3 different services to 3 different devotees. And one was to work on the outside in a materialistic way for people. But he was a devotee. And he told him to worship the deity. So the purport, based on that, him giving those 3 different instructions according to service, was that the Lord could see that this was beneficial for each one of them. Therefore, he gave different instructions. So that's what it means to practice Krishna consciousness. That situations come, but the reactions to the situations may look like the situation is similar, but the response may be completely different, according to the mentality of the situation, like that. And just for instance, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Lord Nityananda kicked, who was that? Shivananda Sain. He kicked him in the chest. And of course Shivananda Sain was very happy to get kicked by Lord Nityananda. But his cousin, what was his name? Shrikant. He became offended because Lord Nityananda kicked his cousin, or his uncle? His uncle in the chest. So he immediately left. And when he came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he sat down in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and didn't say anything. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't say anything to him either, and he told the other devotees, don't say anything. His mind is disturbed. If you do, he'll just become more angry or go away. So, obviously, it was a benediction that to get kicked in the chest by Lord Nityananda is not something that happens every lifetime. That's a blessing. But that wasn't seen by another person. It was seen in a different way. Yeah. So the dealings with situations are always according to the person, time, place, the actual reason why it happened. So many things. Well, Prabhupada dealt like that. There was one devotee, this happened in New Vrindavan. He was a preacher, and he asked Prabhupada a question based on the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada got really stern. He said, you're out there preaching, and you don't know the answer to that question? How can you go out there preaching? You're out there giving the message of Bhagavad Gita, and you don't even know Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada went on for 20 minutes. The devotees were watching the boy. He was sinking into the chair, feeling Prabhupada's strong words. And they tried to interrupt Prabhupada so he would let off the boy, but Prabhupada would just, he would ignore the devotees, and he just kept chastising this boy. So you might say, well, he was a little over, maybe too hard on him. But it worked. The boy actually took it. I mean, it was hard for him to take it, but he took it. And he accepted it as Prabhupada's mercy. So, yeah, Prabhupada could see situations. We may not always see situations. You have to know the person a little bit before you can really respond to a person's ways of doing things or ways of speaking. That's why we shouldn't criticize, because criticism is always wrong, because you can't see the whole picture. Praise is also always shorter than the actual words, because we can't see the whole picture either. That's why the Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, 28th chapter, verse number 1, first verse, it says, one should not praise another, one should not criticize another. But then the next verse goes on, says, you can praise. Because that's the nature of Vaishnavas. The whole process is to glorify others. But the reason the statement is there is that both praise and criticism do not really give a clear understanding of the actual situation. Complete understanding. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Oh, there is one more? Okay.
Not a question, I just want to comment what he said. Just like Prabhupada is so dynamic. This happened in the West. One of the temple president, he wrote an email to Prabhupada saying that this devotee is so troublesome, please shift him to another temple. One good about this devotee is that he plays nice kartal. And Prabhupada replied to this temple president, you're such an amazing devotee, you find good things even in devil's circle. Please tolerate him the way I tolerate you. That was amazing.
Oh, yeah. That was a very important instruction. That's a general instruction too. Good. Yeah, tolerance is a feature of bhakti that must be there. Otherwise you can't practice Krishna consciousness. It's not possible. Okay, thank you. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. we had GBC meeting few days before. Many Srila Prabhupada disciples, gurus and senior devotees were there with us. All of a sudden, all of them left. And at that time, His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj came here. By his deep philosophical class and energetic Guru Pujas, and he gave us merciful association so many ways. And he was there with us for Govardhan Puja and Go Puja. And he has written one book also, Krishna's Way, very nice book. So let us thank His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj by loudly chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We request Maharaj to give his more and more association like this, again and again. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna's Way, the natural living. This book is here. It's very cheap, only 400 rupees. So please come here and take your copies. Hare Krishna. एक ही है ना?
Hare Krishna. Shri Damodar Ashtakam. Namamishwaram Sachidanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam. Namamishwaram Sachidanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam. Yashodabhiyolukhalabdhavamanam paramrishtamatyantato drutya gopya. Yashodam Rudantam muhurnetra yugamamrijantam Karambhuja yugamena satakанetram. Mohoshvasakam patrirekhakantam Sthitagraiva damodaram bhaktibaddham. Mohoshvasakam Iti driksvalilabhiranandakunde Swagosham nimajjantamakhyapayantam. Tadiyeshu tatnyeshu bhakterjitatvam पुनः प्रेमतस्तं शतावृत्ति वन्दे तदीयेषु वरं देवमोक्षं न मोक्षमदिं मां न चान्यं रेणेऽहं वरेशदपीह इदं ते वपुर्नाथ गोपालबालम् सदा मे मनस्या विरस्तकिमन्ये इदं ते इदं ते मुखाम्बोजमत्यन्तनीलम् वृतं कुन्तले स्निग्धरक्तेश गोप्या मुहुशुम्बितं बिम्बरक्ताधरं मे मनस्या विरस्तामलं लक्षलाभे मुहुशुम्बि नमो देवदामोदरानन्त विष्णु प्रसीद प्रभो दुःखजालब्धिमग्नम् कृपा दृष्टिवृष्ट्यातिदिनं बतानो गृहानेश मामज्ञमेदशि दृश्य कुबेरात्मजो बद्धमूर्तयद्वन् त्वया मोचितो भक्तिभाजो कृतो च कुबेरात् तथा प्रेम भक्तिं स्वकामे प्रयच्छ न मोक्षे गृहो मेऽस्ति दामोदरेह तथा प्रेम नमस्ते सुदाम्ने स्फुरब्दिति दाम्ने त्वदीयोदरायाथ विश्वस्य दाम्ने नमस्ते नमो राधिकाय त्वदीयप्रियाय नमो अनन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यं नमो राधिकाय नमो राधिकाय त्वदीयप्रियाय नमो अनन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम् नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं लसत्कुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानं नमामीश्वरम् यशोदाभिलोकलाब्धवमानं परामृष्टमत्यन्ततो धृत्य गोप्या Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Jaya Radha Damodar, Radha Damodar, Radha Damodar, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Shishi Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. दामोदर अष्टकम की जय।